Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well today. So, today I want to film an Alexa Demie inspired look. A few videos back, Liam and I did our makeup opinions, and one of my choices was Alexa Demie. Obviously she blew up because of playing Maddie on Euphoria, but I actually really love her style, not Maddie's but actually Alexa Demie's. I think she's super cool. I love her makeup. I always think her looks and her hair really tell a story. I think she has quite a similar vibe, which I like. I'll show you some pictures. This is one, and they are super matte skin, cool tone eyes, cool tone lips, cool tone skin, thin eyebrows, but just unreal. I think she just looks great. What I'll do is I'll I'll put the actual shots that I just showed here next to me. But yeah, so I'm gonna try and do quite matte skin. I'm gonna try and thin my brows out. I want to do really cool tone eye look and not use any blush. And I'm not necessarily copying a look, I'm just being inspired by. I would love it if you could like and subscribe. It would mean an awful lot to me. And yeah, let's get into it. So for skin, we're going to go something super matte. Now I do have some kind of basic skincare on, but I'm just going to use my VIEVE Skin Nova just to really give moisture into my skin before we start putting down some mattifying product. I used to love, I think we all used to love really matte skin. I actually have quite dry skin, so it's not something that I play with as much. And I've definitely moved over to that more glowier base and using creams, and then obviously powdering a little bit. But today we're gonna go back to full coverage matte skin. So I'm gonna start off with, I've got this little mini matte putty primer from ELF. So I'm just going to put this really in the centre of my face. I love all the putty primers. I have the luminous one. My CC one is one of my favourites. I just think they're great because actually I find them very hydrating. Even this matte one, I really don't find it drying, which again is something that I find important, having dry skin. And now I'm going to go in with, I've got this from Fenty Beauty. This is the True Matte Pro Filter Mattifying Primer. And it comes with a little pump. And I'm going to take quite a big dollop, maybe a little bit more actually. Pop that all over. And then I'm just going to blend this in with a brush. I really love a cool tone moment. And I think to be able to pull it off and look as unreal as Alexa Demie does, I think is a skill. There's a fine line between gothic grungy and cool tone glam. I think that sometimes people, I definitely find that I can, if I wear too much cool tone stuff, I just look a bit too gothic and not enough glam. And so I really have to try and think of ways to really make it a glam moment. I don't want it to be Halloween-y. I just want to look cool toned. And obviously as I'm so pale, I don't really want to look ill either, and that's something that if I'm doing not using much warmth, I just look a bit flat. Alexa Demie manages, and her glam manages to still look fresh and alive but really cool tone, which I think is a skill. So my skin is nice and mattified. It still feels quite hydrated though. I think those primers are really good mattifying choices if you have dry skin. They're both quite hydrating but mattifying, which if you're a dry skin girly, that's what we need. For foundation, I'm going to go in with the FILT'R Longwear foundation, and this is in F1. did like a whole review of this foundation and the concealer on my page a while back. This is quite light, which we kind of want. Gives me full coverage, but it's not heavy. So I pulled this one out. But I think because this one is a bit more on the paler side, I chose this as well. I kind of want to just create a real blank canvas with this. You can see it's really blanking me out. I actually would say it's a bit light for me. This is probably my like winter shade, but it's going to work for the look. If you haven't already watched the video of me and Liam and our makeup opinions, go and take a look. I'll leave it linked like somewhere. But it was such a fun like video to film. I always think, even though I know Liam, like he's like my best friend and I like know him, like there were some shocks and, well, I feel like I wasn't as like shocks as such, but there was some stuff that I was like surprised at. But then once he showed me, I was like, oh no, that makes sense. But it's a really fun video to film. So yeah, definitely go take a look at that. So I'm now very ghostly, but I'm definitely a blank canvas. The coverage of that foundation is really lovely, but it really doesn't feel heavy at all. I think it's a really, really nice formula, and especially for the drugstore. I might have to obviously pick up a new shade because it's giving Halloween. Right, next for contour, I'm going to take my cream bronzer in amber, and this is, used this plenty of times. This is basically a grey, and I'm actually going to use quite a bit of this because I want to add something into the skin, and this is kind of the perfect tone because it's so kind of grey. And actually when I look at her, yeah, in this one I'll pop like pictures up here when I'm talking about it. So in this there's a bit more contour, but if you look in this one there's hardly any contour at all. So I just am gonna kind of do what I would normally do with my contour and my bronzer, but with this kind of grey, because I do want it to look quite glam. And like I said, I have just like fully like blanked out my face. And I've taken this on like a quite a dense kabuki brush, and I'm just working this into kind of just sculpt. I love the shade of this Fenty. I think it will be something that I will always have in my makeup. It is just the perfect tone for my skin. But yeah, that's kind of given me some colour back into my skin, but really there's nothing harsh and it's still all very like cool. Now I'm just going to add a tiny bit of my ELF-PUTTY bronzer, and this is in Feeling Shady. This is also a very like cool tone cream bronzer, and I'm just going to add a hint over my cheekbones just because I really do love this tone. Right, so now I'm going to go in with concealer, and I'm going to be using my NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in Chantilly, and I'm just putting this in the centre. Her skin is almost kind of like one tone, so I don't want to add too much highlight. So I'm not going to even put any like anywhere else. I'm literally just putting it in that corner area. So I do think I just need a tiny bit more coverage underneath the eyes. And I'm just going to blend this out with this brush. And I really don't use this concealer enough, but it is a really lovely concealer. When I use it, I do always enjoy it. Okay, so all my cream base is done, and now I'm going to powder. So I'm just going to do it under my eyes with my ELF Prime and Stay Finishing Powder, and I'm just going to run this lightly under my eyes. I really do love this powder for under my eyes. And next I'm going to go in to bake, because I really just don't want any kind of like shine or glow, with my trusty Laura Mercier powder. And I'm just going to go over my whole face with this. Again, this is not something I use all the time either. I saw it in my drawer and thought I need to start using that a bit more. But it is like a really stunning powder. I'm going to go back in over the eyes just to really set everything down. I'm feeling very matte. I'm hoping that once the eyes are done and the lips, it will kind of all come together. I am just going to use my Morphe continuous setting mist just to kind of set this down and to kind of let it all melt in, but without adding any kind of like luminosity or like moisture. One of my favourite misters. It just kind of lets everything melt in without like having to like spray a lot onto your face. And as you can see, so I've got a bit of contour, but it's literally nothing harsh at all. It's kind of just there just so that I've got like something. Right, now for brows, I'm going to try, I've got obviously quite bushy brows. I'm going to actually zoom you in for this. Okay, so as you can see from these pics, her brows are very kind of thin. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to kind of brush the tops down and the middle up. So yeah, I really want to just bring down this brow. I mean, my brows aren't thin, so they're never going to look kind of pencil thin, but at least I can kind of eliminate some height. Oh, and with this I'm just using the NYX the brow glue, because I'd actually want them to kind of like glue down. I literally don't do anything to my brows, but I'd love to do a bit more to them, but I'm just so scared of kind of over plucking. But I would quite like to dabble in the skinny brow moment, but only for a moment. And then what I'm actually gonna do is I've got kind of like a really thin brush. I'm going to take my VIEVE palette, and I'm actually going to, with the grey and this kind of like taupey purple, kind of fill them in. I want my brows to actually look quite cool tone. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm hoping that it does. I just don't really want any warmth in my brows, and I'm just going completely over the brow, and I'm not adding anything kind of around. I think that's kind of worked. They definitely look thinner than normal. Yeah, I'm happy with this. Yeah, they're definitely skinnier and darker. This one is the brow that never plays ball. Here they are. I mean, they do look, this one I always find sits lower on my face, so that when I fluff it up they sit more evenly, but because I've actually like lowered them, you see this one, I need to just fully relax, this one sits lower, or this one just has more movement. I can't work out which, but my eyes, they're definitely not even. But yeah, I quite like those brows. They're definitely thin. Okay, now for my eyeshadow, I'm going to use this VIEVE 90s palette, and I want to really blank out my eyelids, so I'm going to use my concealer and really add quite a bit of product actually, and I'm just going to blend this in, pat this in with a brush, and then I'm going to take some of Skimp and just kind of pack that all over my eye as like a base. So my eye's really just fully blanked out. Next I'm going to take just a kind of like a blending brush, like a semi-fluffy one. And I'm going to go in with Supermodel, which is this kind of like middle grey. Just do another kind of wash all over that lid. And this is literally the tiniest bit like greyer than that other base that we've used. I would love to know whether her look is kind of like from a glam team, because her makeups definitely have like a theme, or whether it's kind of her directing the makeup looks. And I am going to kind of bring it kind of in. I don't want it too far in, but I want the eyeshadow, because it's so light, I can really kind of, almost like an inner eye bag as such. So I'm going to go in with Low Rise now, which is this kind of darker tone. And I'm just going to run this through the crease to add a tiny bit of dimension. But I kind of want this to look kind of one tone. And I'm also going to go on the lid with that Low Rise. So it's basically like a very grey smoky eye. I am going to kind of just run all of those colours like below my eye. And then with my VIEVE eye wand in Espresso, I am going to take this on like a little brush and just kind of stamp this in the waterline. And I really love the colour of this Espresso. It's like dark but not black. As you can see, I've just gone in my waterline, and then I'm just going to run this along the top as well. So I'm really creating like definition like around my eye. And then with Soot from the palette, which is this kind of like purplish tone, I'm gonna do like a baby wing. So I've got like a baby sharp wing, and then kind of like that definition around the eye. And I need to try and do the wing on the other side. I hate having to match up my wings. Just not very good at symmetry. But I feel like that looks almost the same. Yeah, they look the same to me. And then I'm going to, on the inside of my eye, just put a bit of sparkle. And so I'm going to take this kind of silvery sparkle called Dial Up, and I'm just going to pop this as like a little inner corner highlight, just to jazz that up a bit. Yeah, I think this looks really pretty. I do feel like eyelashes are gonna and lips are gonna kind of transform this. So for mascara, I'm gonna use my Milk Rise mascara. I'm just gonna give my lashes kind of a good coat with this. So I'm gonna put on some falsies. I'm gonna put on like a nice little half lash. This mascara is good. I really like this, but it dries out so quickly. I feel like as soon as you kind of open it, you've only got like a month or two's use. Because when you open it, it's quite like a dry formula, like as it comes. And I'm just adding on a thin layer and kind of not directing my lashes up really. I'm like directing them more to the side because I want quite like a feline look. I want my eyes to look quite elongated. And she does do bottom lashes, so I'm going to put on some bottom lashes. I'm going to be taking these. They're quite long, but they're quite like wispy. And I'm not sure what brand these are from. And I'm going to try and again put them on so that they kind of go out and they're not sticking up. I really want to create that kind of feline kind of moment. Can you see? So they're like long but kind of like very feline. Yeah, I think my eyes look really cool, and I really love the kind of cool tone grey. Lastly, for lip, I have got one of my NYX lip liners. This is in Moonwalk, and it's a really lovely kind of like dark, I wouldn't say it's necessarily like purple, but it's definitely on that kind of like tone. And I'm just gonna outline in this darker colour, and I'm not really gonna fill them in. I really want to keep this as like an outline. And so I've just really gone around the edge and like not filled in the middle, which is something like I'd always kind of do with my lip liners. And then I'm gonna take this NYX Lingerie Push Up Long Lasting Lipstick, and it's a real like cool tone light colour, and I'm just gonna fill this in. It's gonna look scary for now. Scary. And then I'm gonna take like a little teeny tiny brush and just blend in the edges. I feel like I nailed that lip. So here is the final look. I'm actually very happy with it. I feel like I managed to capture that kind of like cool tone glam without looking too like Halloweeny and like gothic. But yeah, I really love the cool toneness of this look. But yeah, I feel very Alexa Demie, channeling my inner her. And yeah, I feel like the skin is very matte, very like blank, with just that tiny bit of contour, literally the tiniest bit. But yeah, eyes, super cool tone. I actually think it makes my eyes stand out. I thought that kind of greys would almost dull my eyes. I find that pinks and like rosy colours really like lift my eyes. But I really actually think this suits my eye colour. And then yeah, I think I nailed the brief. Let me know what you think. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. I really enjoyed filming just this little kind of look with you. But yeah, hope you have a really lovely week, and I'll see you again soon.